It's a real honor, I say this totally seriously, it's a real honor to be able to introduce Roger Hertog, co-chair of the Jewish Leadership Conference, chairman of the Tikva Fund, president of the Hertog Foundation. When he retired in 2006, Roger had served as the president of the investment research and management firm he helped found in 1968. For decades, he and Mrs. Hertog have dedicated themselves to all kinds of philanthropic activities, including the New York Historical Society, the Manhattan Institute, the American Enterprise Institute. Most of the institutions that are crucial to the vitality of public policy and conservative ideas in the United States, Roger has immeasurably improved. He's been chairman of 20 years. Many of us at Tikva have worked closely with him, and many of you know Roger here, whether you know him from his involvement with the New York Historical Society or American Enterprise Institute or Commentary. All the other places you know, Lord knows we at Tikva know, about that his great strength is in asking hard questions. Roger's questions, his strategic insight, invariably help to separate good judgment from bad judgment, truth from falsehood, wisdom from error. They've taught me a lot, and they've taught all of us. Okay, I see Roger down there. He doesn't like long introductions. Let me just ask you to join me in welcoming Roger Hertog.
You know, I've said this before, but I'm always reminded of it. When Lyndon Johnson, he literally did say this, was given this very wonderful introduction, and he listened to it politely, and he got up on stage, and he said, "I only wish my mother and father had been alive to hear that introduction." He said, "My father would have been very proud. My mother would have believed it." Well, good morning. As John said, I'm chairman of the Tikva Fund, the sponsor of our conference today. And as you might imagine, looking out at this audience, this is an exciting moment for us because of the incredibly enthusiastic response we've had to the idea behind the conference. The roughly 400 or so people we'll have here today come from 4 countries: Australia, Canada, Israel, and Mexico, and another 23 states from America, as far from New York as Wyoming and Maine, and to California and Texas. The powerful chord of this event is due in part, yes, to the idea that we've had, but also to the quality of the speakers, and hopefully the engagement of those speakers and those ideas with our audience. Because ideas do matter. In fact, ideas in the end are the only thing that really matters. Before developing that idea in my brief introduction, let me just give you a sense, out of respect for Tikva's founder, Zalman Chaim Bernstein of blessed memory, and how I became involved with the Tikva Fund. For 30 years or so, Zalman and I were partners in the investment firm that bore his name, Sanford C. Bernstein and Company. One Sunday morning in the summer of 1998, I got a call from Sandy. That's what I still called him, even though at that moment in his life he had made Aliyah and was called Zalman. He said matter-of-factly that he had developed a virulent form of leukemia and would probably die from the leukemia or from a bone marrow transplant that they were going to operate on at Memorial Sloan Kettering. The purpose of his call was to ask me to succeed him as chairman of the Tikva Fund. I told him in truth I was not up to the task. For one thing, I didn't speak Hebrew, and I thought we would do many activities in Israel, and I wouldn't be equipped to really be able to converse. Second, my knowledge of Jewish laws and traditions at that time was, to put it politely, still developing. Bernstein, as it was his custom, when he had something in his mind, he paid no attention to anyone's objections. He said, there are two reasons I want you to do this. First, you'll learn a tremendous amount, and one day you'll thank me. That was classic Bernstein. I'm doing this for you, it's not for me. Second, because I trust you. Yes, we've differed about many things in business, which we certainly did. But on the big questions facing Israel, America, and the Jews, we've most often agreed. All I ask you, he concluded, is to apply the lessons we learned in running our business. And he picked up on two of them, and they were important ones. Focus intensely on a few big things and excel at them. And if you can't excel, after some period of time, cut your losses. Don't keep on going on. Try something new. Roger, he said, I don't have much time left. Will you do this for me? There was only one obvious answer, as you might imagine. And now, 20 years later, I do have to thank him. And in so many ways, he was right once again. Tikva has enriched my life beyond all expectations. Now, before we get into the conversation or my short talk, I'm sure many of you remember from our original promotion of this conference that we expected to have Dr. Charles Krauthammer speak before us today. And as many of you know, Dr. Krauthammer has been ill, though best I understand, he's on the mend and is expected to make a full recovery. When we spoke about what he was going to talk about, he came up with the title, "This Time, Rome is on Our Side." And on Friday, he sent a short message which he's asked me to read to you. And these are his words. There's a deep strain of fatalism in the Jewish historic imagination. But this is not 70 AD. Israel today is under the protective shield of the world's greatest superpower, which makes a U.S.-Israeli relationship the pillar of American security. The irony is that as support for the relationship grows among American Christians, it is beginning to decline among American Jews. The challenge for the coming generation is to renew both Jewish identity and affinity for Israel. In his own way, in 6 lines, he basically captured a significant part of the program we're going to speak of today. So let me just set the table, so to say, for our conference today on that big idea that has brought us here, namely the important connections between Jews and conservatism. All of us are aware that this has been a remarkable era for American Jews. Our forefathers who came to this country generations ago could have never conceived of what their children, their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren would accomplish here. Not just unparalleled material success, but recognition and influence in the larger society beyond most of what we could have ever thought was possible. Jews today make up 10% of the U.S. Senate, a third of the Supreme Court, 25% of American billionaires, not to mention what's been achieved in medicine, culture, religion, art, science, the academy, and yes, philanthropy. But this is no ordinary time. Serious struggles do confront us. Especially as it relates to what's happening in terms of assimilation, intermarriage, open anti-Semitism disguised as anti-Zionism on college campuses and elsewhere. And as the Pew studies have shown, young American Jews have increasingly become indifferent to Israel. Only 25% of those aged 18 to 29 feel attached, very attached to the state of Israel, a number that was 2 or 3 times that 10 or 15 or 20 years ago. 50, 75% of young American Jews were very attached to Israel. But there are also countervailing forces in this picture. One is the strong faith and growing numbers of the modern Orthodox, Haredi communities, with Chabad being the most prominent among the latter. Another is the phenomenon of younger and older Jews who were brought up in more secular homes with little knowledge of our traditions or for Israel, but who are now showing some signs, and I think they're more than just signs, of searching for more meaning in their lives. They're hardly the only Americans who are searching. Part of the problem has been, for Jews as well as for most Americans, as far back as any of us can remember, educated Americans in general have trusted government to solve most, if not all, of society's problems. Sadly, few have ever asked, what should government do and what shouldn't it do? Are there any limits to government power? Because while government indeed has been and will continue to be instrumental in providing for the poor and the aged, there are central underpinnings of life that government, by its nature, can't provide. It can't provide values to people that have none. It can't provide meaning to life. It can't provide purpose. Today we see the manifestations of this failure all around us. It's impossible not to notice. The breakdown of the family, families all across the country, faltering neighborhoods, the degradation of the culture, the erosion of public education, the uncivilized behavior on so many fronts that no one could have ever even imagined 5, 10, 15, 25 years ago. Unable to find answers anywhere else, many Americans, our co-religionists included, have turned to politics. Politics of a polarized, partisan, and even weaponized kind. Politics in its own way has become a new religion, invariably affecting the surrounding culture for the worse, but with an especially detrimental impact on people of faith. We can argue over whether some say politics is downstream of culture, or as others say, culture is downstream of politics. In reality, both statements are true. But there are those two forces of politics and culture where they meet, and they intermingle, they connect, where Jews and Jewish ideas and conservative values can provide important answers and leadership. In a way, this is easier said than done. As is evident in the federal courts, the government has been trying for some time to marginalize, even punish traditionally practicing Jews and Christians. The courts are making the case that it's fine, just fine, to practice your faith in your home or at your place of worship. But don't bring that faith into the public square. Although there are positive signs on the horizon. And that's something we'll have to wait and see, and that has to do most with the many, many new appointments to the federal court system that have gone on over the last year. In any case, Jews and Christians who share a common set of values should come together in this debate and in this fight to work together. We have an enormous amount in common. And our purpose at this event today is to converse with others who understand and are prepared to defend those common interests and values, whether they be economic or religious, cultural, or political in the largest sense. We have to see that our larger purpose is to build a community, create and support a movement through which we can share our wisdom, revive the conviction and the principles that have been enduringly powerful to the success of our society, to the miracle, the true miracle that is the state of Israel, and to the longevity and purpose of Western civilization. It is a tough challenge, but a worthy fight for an energized and passionate citizenry. And I believe we are up to the task. Thank you so much.